What's going on, everybody? Here, welcome back. So Krafton is at it again, kind of. Now, I wasn't gonna make a video on this. This is an article from gamesindustry.biz. But I was like, you know what? There's some things in here that are kind of, again, being very Krafton-y about the whole situation going on. So Krafton files new papers as it fights to convince the court to compel a forensic examination of former Unknown Worlds founders' devices. Krafton will continue to present evidence showing how the executives violated their obligations. So, to get you as caught up as I can, I'm not going to go through the entire thing. If you don't know what's going on right now, I highly recommend checking out some of my previous videos. But basically, the original three creators of Subnautica believe they were wrongly fired, and they essentially took some evidence on the way out. They backed up a whole bunch of files while they were still heads, the directors, essentially, the heads of Unknown Worlds. They backed up these files that they already had access to. They backed them up, and then they got fired. And now Krafton is essentially losing it because they have all these emails, they have all these documents, they have all this stuff. And my guess, this is all my opinion, the whole thing, is that the original three got all this as evidence, so if they needed to pursue a lawsuit, they could. And I think what's going on now is Krafton is fighting tooth and nail to do everything they can to see what data they have and to stop them from using any of it in any possible legalities, any lawsuits and stuff like that. So I think that's what's going on here. Now, they're so scared of this data that they completely walked away from the entire reason initially that they said they fired them. So if you remember, they originally said that we had the right to fire the original three developers of Subnautica because we believed that they were going to put out Subnautica 2 into early access in a state that was going to be detrimental to the name and to the IP. And they essentially, Krafton was saying that they had a right to protect the Subnautica IP and all this stuff, which to me, that's probably the most legit reason you could probably get to. Now, the problem with that is that the original three got those documents. They got emails. They probably got receipts. They probably have a lot of information that they could use against them. Well, Krafton didn't realize this until after they fired him. So now they're freaking out, and that's why I believe they walked back the whole first part. I don't think they want to get to like the discovery phase of the first part. I don't think they want to have to like justify it, you know? I think they're trying to avoid that because they probably know that they have proof. Again, my opinion, I have no idea. So let's talk about this article and let's talk about what new things are kind of coming out here. So Krafton has filed 2 further legal documents after the founders of the former leadership team of Subnautica 2 developer Unknown Worlds successfully blocked Krafton's request for a court-ordered protective order to force the founders to turn over their devices for a forensic inspection. So basically, Krafton said, hey, we want all of their devices so we can do a forensic inspection of all of them to see what information they took. And I believe, again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm going off of what I've read and what I presume, and what I'm presuming is this court-ordered protective order was to prevent them from using any of the information that they took in anywhere else, which would make sense except for a lawsuit, because they specifically originally brought up that, well, we don't want them to use it against Krafton in the parallel lawsuit, basically is what they said. Now, the court said absolutely not. That's too invasive. You're not going to do that. So, new court papers sent to gamesindustry.biz show that following the hearing on September 12th, Krafton filed a combined motion seeking relief and opposition to the founders' motion to compel. The company also shared an affidavit from the MD of Alvarez and Marshall's Forensic Technology Services practice, who was retained by Krafton to identify, collect, and analyze electronically stored information and perform forensic analysis in connection with the case. Basically, they're saying we still want to do it. We still want to do it, and here's why. And they're saying that these are the people that found whatever information. These are the people that are going to be used to find information. So, details of the legal complaint against Krafton Inc. by the former leadership of Subnautica 2 developer Unknown Worlds became public in July. The complaint concerns a $250 million bonus payout tied to revenue targets for the 2025 early access release of Subnautica 2, which the former shareholders of Unknown Worlds Entertainment, represented by Fortis Advisors, allege owners Krafton sought to avoid paying it out by delaying the game using pressure tactics. In its defense, Krafton accused the former 3 leaders of then threatening to self-publish Subnautica 2, releasing it without Krafton's backing, marketing, promotion, or distribution. This, Krafton claims, left it with no choice but to terminate their employment, along with allegations that Max McGuire, Ted Gill, and Charlie Cleveland downloaded tens of thousands of company files and emails in the lead up to these terminations. We're going to go through this paragraph a little bit line by line, but I want to kind of get through it here. The founders strenuously denied this and claimed the publisher changed its story at mid-litigation about why it fired the founders and seized control over Unknown Worlds. So there's a couple things in here which are a little weird, and it's all like just lots of words. So Krafton said that the former leaders are threatening to self-publish Subnautica 2. I don't think they're threatening to self-publish Subnautica 2 in the way that they're trying to describe here. I think what they were saying was the original 3 developers, when Krafton purchased them, they believed that in the purchase agreement that they were going to have absolute control over Subnautica 2. They were going to be able to decide when it went into early access. They were going to be able to decide when it went into full release. They were going to be in control completely of the game itself. And Krafton was going to be the publisher that was going to, make money off of this and stuff like that. Now, I don't believe that is considered self-publishing Subnautica 2. And when they said releasing it without Krafton's backing, marketing, promotion, or distribution, if we remember back to the original lawsuit filed by the original leaders, Krafton stopped marketing, promotion, and distribution. This was the claims. They said that they were still working on the game. They were still pushing it. They were on track to do what they were going to do. And Krafton stopped all of it. Krafton told everybody to stop with the marketing, stop with promoting, stop with the distribution, stop talking to them, essentially. They said, if anybody reaches out to you regarding Unknown Worlds, don't even talk to them. That's what the original 3 claimed Krafton was doing, because it was trying to sandbag it, because they wanted it to be delayed, because they didn't want to pay $250 million bonus that they promised to pay. Now, the other part of this, which is just super weird, along with allegations that Max McGuire, Ted Gill, and Charlie Cleveland downloaded tens of thousands of company files and emails in the lead up to these terminations. In the lead up to these terminations. So what they're saying is they downloaded company files that they were directors of the company of before they got fired. And they're saying that that's the problem, and that is why they're being terminated now. Do you see what I'm saying? They were the directors of the company. Those files are probably theirs to do what they will. It's part of their job to have access to those. So the fact that they backed them up doesn't sound crazy. Okay, so what? To me, this is, so what if they did that? But again, like I said, I think the problem is that they had receipts, they had emails, they had correspondence, they had proof to back up what they were saying. This terrified Krafton, my opinion, to the point where Krafton changed its story mid-litigation about why it fired the founders and seized control over Unknown Worlds. Because again, their whole thing initially was, we were protecting our IP. They completely walked all of that back. They're no longer claiming that at all. They're not saying anything about protecting their IP. They're not saying anything. They're nothing. They're not saying anything about that. Now they're trying to, there's all about this file stuff now, which is silly to me. Like, to me, this is like nothing here. Like, you're saying you fired them because they got documents that they were allowed to access anyways, but you fired them you didn't even realize this happened till after the fact, So why did you fire them then? It's just wild. Now, the affidavit from A&M said it observed numerous downloads within a short period of time occurring in June and July, indicative of a mass download of complete folders and their contents from Google Drive. Absolutely. They believe they were about to be wrongly fired, so they got proof. I don't see where that's crazy. Like I said, the legality of stuff like that, I'm not going to even get into. But like to me, if I believed I was about to be wrongly fired, and I had information and stuff to prove it later in a possible lawsuit, you can bet I'm going to back that up. I'm not going to release it to anybody because I believe, again, this is my thing. It's like the downloading itself probably isn't the issue. It's the possibility of releasing it. That would be my guess. I don't know though. There probably is some, there could be some, proper handling etiquettes and things like that, like you're not downloading stuff on certain drives and stuff. You know what I mean? Like kind of weird stuff like that. There could be like other little things like that, but to the point where a lawsuit is going to happen and wrongful termination, stuff like that. I feel like absolutely they were getting stuff to prove their point. However, in its most recent filing, the founders deny wrongdoing, claiming they had an absolute right to copy the files as directors of the company. They were directors of the company. They have the right to those files. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. In these latest papers, Krafton also stressed it even offered to extend the earnout period if the key employees would come back to work. The key employees refused, threatened to self-publish Subnautica 2, and, anticipating the termination, stole hundreds of thousands of unknown worlds and Krafton's confidential documents before they were fired, presumably in furtherance of their plan to unilaterally self-publish Subnautica 2 and capitalize on the earnout. So this is what Krafton said. And I believe all of this is a load of baloney. But this is what they said, and again, this is all my opinion. They said they even offered to extend the earnout period if the key employees would come back to work. The only time that we have heard about the key employees coming back to work was when Krafton took over Unknown World's website, which they weren't supposed to, and posted a message saying all this stuff and basically claiming that these people walked away from their positions, they weren't doing their jobs, and we would like them to come back. Would you please just come back and finish the game for us? That is what they said. You might remember this at some point, but basically that's what they said. They tried to make it, they posted this to make it look like the original three were, dipping out, basically. But then later, they had to delete it because, again, they weren't supposed to take control over Unknown's World's website without their approval. They weren't supposed to be posting this stuff without their approval. This was presumably part of the purchase agreement that, hey, we remain complete control over Unknown Worlds. You can't do this without asking. And the fact that it got deleted kind of shows that, hey, they knew they weren't supposed to do it. That's the only time I've seen anything about this, about key employees coming back. Now, in the lawsuit from the key employees, it doesn't sound like they ever left. It doesn't sound like they ever weren't doing their jobs. It sounds like their jobs were refocused onto different things. And they were doing stuff. They were higher up now. They weren't in the workflow directly like they used to be. They were higher up. They were doing other things, other projects for Krafton that they wanted, supposedly. I'm not going to get into all that, but basically that's what happened. Now, the key employees refused, threatened to self-publish Subnautica 2. Again, the threatening to self-publish thing, I don't think it's a threat to self-publish. I think it's a thing, it was them saying, we retain the right to release this when we want to per our purchase agreement. That is, I believe, what they were saying. But to them, they're trying to spin it as, oh, well, they threatened to self-publish the game. And anticipating the termination, so while they were still working, because they weren't fired at this point, stole hundreds of thousands of Unknown Worlds and Krafton's confidential documents before they were fired. Okay, well, it's not stealing if it's theirs. They had access to it. As directors of the company, they have access to this stuff. I don't believe it's stealing if they had access to it. If they fired them and then they got access to it afterwards, I could see that. But like, this was theirs anyways. Again, they're backing themselves up. Presumably in furtherance of their plan to unilaterally self-publish Subnautica 2 and capitalize on the earnout. This doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. If they knew they were going to get fired, anticipating their termination, how are they thinking that they're going to unilaterally self-publish Subnautica 2 and capitalize on the earnout? If you're fired from the company, why would you get a bonus? If I got fired from my job, why would I be like, okay, well, I'm going to steal all this stuff and I'm going to keep doing my job anyways, and then they're going to have to pay me my bonus? What? What do you mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And then unilaterally self-publish. What are they can't just take their game and run. Like, that's not what's happening here. And I think that's what Krafton is trying to say, is like, they're trying to like, oh, they're trying to take our game and they're just going to go do their own thing with it. They're going to go release it on whatever. It's like, I'm not thinking that's what's happening here. I'm thinking they're trying to prove that they had the right to do what they said they were doing. They had the right to the contract that they agreed upon, So In a statement to GamesIndustry.biz, a Krafton spokesperson said, now this is a statement to GamesIndustry.biz. This isn't an illegal document. This is just them saying it. A Krafton spokesperson said, Krafton's latest filings continue to highlight the former executive's misconduct. So the files that they had access to while they worked there, because they were the directors of the company, those files, that's their misconduct. That's reach. Despite offering to extend the former executive's earnout period if they returned to their positions, this is their claim, even though we've already seen that otherwise, the former leaders refused to return to work, threatened to prematurely self-publish Subnautica 2, and stole hundreds of thousands of unknown worlds and Krafton's confidential documents on their way out the door. They keep saying on their way out, which means they weren't fired, which again, it was their documents. You know what I mean? Like, they were the directors. They had access to all this stuff. Stuff like that. So it's just really this prematurely self-publishing Subnautica 2, like, Krafton will this statement right here is it just makes me mad as a fan of Subnautica and stuff. Krafton will continue to present the evidence showing how the former executives violated their obligations and misused company resources. By all means, if you can show that they did something and that this was bad, go for it. But so far, it doesn't look like you're willing to. Krafton had a meeting like 2 weeks ago, in what, the 12th, September 12th or whatever, where they were supposed to bring forth this information saying why they fired him. And that's when they completely walked back the entire first part and brought absolutely no evidence with them. It's like, then prove what you're saying. Right now, they're making baseless claims as far as I can see, as far as we know as the public. You know, there could be stuff in the background, but as far as we see, we're seeing baseless claims here. And the only people that I've seen anything that had any kind of proof has been the original three in their original lawsuit. They had quotes, they had like specific dates and times and meetings and stuff like that. Like, they had very, very specific information. So this isn't what this next part is what makes me mad. As Krafton has continued to make clear, at the heart of every decision Krafton makes are the fans, who deserve the best possible experience. Through this process, Krafton remains focused on what matters, delivering the best possible game to Subnautica fans. It's like, that is the largest load of baloney this is what makes me mad. It's like, oh, Krafton, every decision we make are for the fans. Like, don't tell me as a fan that you're making any of the decisions on my part. I want nothing to do with these decisions that are being made. As a fan, this is irritating. It's like, don't pull me into your nastiness. Don't pull me into what you're trying to do. No, this is on you. You're making these decisions. This is not what the fans want. The fans obviously don't want this. So you're not making these decisions based on the fans. You're making these decisions based on yourself, based on your own well-being, based on you. Krafton is only worried about Krafton right now. You are not worried about the fans whatsoever. This keeps happening. So that's what's going on right now. That's like the newest. It is what it is. There's nothing super crazy here. The whole thing of like, oh, we would extend the payout if they returned back to work. Like, we've seen this once before, but like, it's just right now, it just seems like they're just talking. They're just talking to talk, to just drag this out. Like, it doesn't sound like they're going to actually produce any information anywhere. Like, everything so far is like, well, we're claiming that they did this. Okay, prove it. Well, never mind. Okay, well, we're claiming that they did this. Okay, we'll prove it. Well, never mind. You know? So that's kind of what's going on here. It's just another thing, in another cog in the wheel of this Krafton baloney. But I don't know. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think. I'm still just waiting for something to actually happen here. I was really hoping that with that meeting they were going to have, that something would actually come out, something would actually happen. Krafton would actually try to prove something. But it's not. Right now, it's just Krafton is dancing around making any actual proof, like bringing forth any actual evidence. It's all claims. It's all saying, oh, well, we're going to prove that they had misconduct and stuff like that. It's like, then prove it. Just do it, you know? I don't know. It is what it is. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I'm not thrilled with the situation by any means. And honestly, at this point, I don't know when we're going to even see Subnautica 2. Like, these court things can be so drawn out. They can be so drawn out. And like, I don't know how this works when a company is seemingly purposely not bringing information. Like I said, they were supposed to have this information in I think it was September 12th. They were supposed to have this stuff. And the judge even said, that's the entire reason we're here. And you didn't even bring it with you. Like, what are you doing? You know, like the judge even said that, like, get your stuff together, do it or don't, you know, like, it's like, I feel like they're purposely just like, oh, we don't know. We don't know. And they're just going to keep doing that. But like, they're going to keep fighting it until, I don't know. So leave a comment. Let me know. What do you think is going to happen here? I don't know where this is going to go. It could go either way. Honestly, maybe Krafton comes out with some huge bombshell thing and it proves everything that they said. Maybe they don't, which right now it doesn't look like they're going to. It looks like they're trying to avoid everything they can. They're trying to avoid, it seems like they're trying to avoid discovery at every stage possible. They're trying to avoid, I don't know. We'll see. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, everybody.